Okay, I'm here to talk about today this firearm, which is an heirloom in my family. I can remember as a child standing next to my father's recliner and looking over his shoulder and seeing a line drawing of this pistol um, in the newspaper with big bold print that said TG&Y 29.99. Well, my dad knows a good deal when he sees one, so he marched up to the TG&Y and he bought this pistol. Now you can tell this is kind of a smaller, more ratchet kind of gun, but it is it is actually surprisingly well made. All this wear and tear on the bluing is a result of it being stored in a leather holster for several decades. The leather holster actually deteriorated to the point where I had to throw it away. It got so stiff and messed up. So it's going to be getting a new holster. If it gets anything at all, it'll be getting a new holster. But anyway. Let's take a look at it, shall we? This is an RG model 38 special. It's a 5-shot pistol as opposed to 6 shots. You have to remove this central column in order to bump the cylinder out and empty the bullets. It is loaded at this moment. I don't normally showcase a gun that's loaded, but fairly certain this one's not just going to go off. So put that back together. This is not a gun you're going to try to use in any situation where you're going to need to reload quickly, because it takes a couple minutes to load this gun, and you're going to be up the creek if you try to use it in a speed manner in an extended firefight. It has plastic panels on the handles. I mean, nothing fancy here. This was a $29 gun back in the 1970s. The story behind this gun is pretty impressive, and I wanted to make sure that everyone knows it because I'm one of the few people still surviving that knows the story. So let me get into that real quick. After he purchased this gun, my grandfather, we used to go visit him in Arkansas about every other month. We'd go visit him on one weekend. And he would deputize my father because my grandfather was the chief of police of the town of Glenwood at the time. And he would deputize my father, and they would go out on patrol together. And I think my dad wanted to have his own pistol so he could go on patrol with his father-in-law. And also he bought a big metal spotlight, and that's going to come into play here in just a moment. One night while we're on our way up to Arkansas, we're in this big 1976 Chevrolet station wagon, and this car gets behind us, and it's an older Impala, probably a 73, 74 Impala. Gets behind us, and its lights are really bright. And it keeps flashing its brights in the rearview mirror, and my dad slowed down to let them pass, but they didn't want to pass. They were trying to force us off the road. So my dad says to my mom, looks like we're going to have some trouble here. And he told my mom, he goes, when we pull over, I'm going to jump out of the car with a pistol, and when I do, you need to shine that spotlight directly in their faces. And my mother was like, I don't know, I can't do that, Richard. And my dad was like, no, you got to do this. You know, this, I don't know what these people want. You need to be ready. So he told us kids, y'all get down as low in the floorboard as you can, and we did. And so we pulled over, and my dad says, now. And so she picks up the spotlight and shines it through the back window into the faces of the people that were in the car behind us. And my dad jumps out with this pistol, and I remember sticking my head up and taking a little peek. And I could tell there were multiple people inside the car. I could see 3 or 4 heads, and I could see someone with long, lank hair spinning their head around real fast because clearly they were taken by surprise. They weren't expecting a spotlight in their face and a gun in their face at the same time. That car was thrown into reverse, and I remember hearing the gravel fly as it backed out onto the road and backed down the highway about 100 yards before they found a place to turn around. Now, this is a very desolate highway in the middle of nowhere, nothing but trees around and darkness. And they left. And I believe firmly to this day that my dad saved our lives through his actions that day. At another time in 1978, our house was destroyed by a tornado, and my dad came up to the rubble of our house, and he found this gun sitting in the back pocket of a guy who was bent over cutting up our copper tubing and taking it off. And so he comes up behind the guy, grabs this pistol out of the guy's back pocket, and tells him, stand up and turn around. And the guy stood up and turned around, and it was somebody my dad knew. But that doesn't mean it was okay for the guy to be doing what he was doing. So I'm not going to go into the identity of that person because it could be sensitive, family issue. But anyway, long story short, this pistol saved our lives one night in Arkansas back in the 1970s. and it has a rich history, and then it's a family heirloom, and I wanted to document it for posterity. Thank you.